When writing a novel or any kind of book, it's a really good idea to set up your document in such a way that makes navigation easy for you and easy for your editor. There are certain styles of font that make reading easier, which makes it easier for you to work with your document. So here's a Word document. This is Word 2013. And the first thing we need to do is to get our navigation pane up down the side here. Because once you've got that up, you'll then be able to see your chapter headings and everything down there if you set your document up properly. So to get our navigation pane up there, we have to go to the View menu, which is here, and we go over here to Navigation Pane, and we click that. And you'll see here it says Headings, Pages, and Results. So we don't need to worry about that. Pages, I don't tend to look at that either. Headings is really useful. So how do you get the headings for your different chapters to come up down here? So the answer to that is to go to the home page, right? And you go along here to Styles and choose heading 1 for your name of novel. And there it is. It's coming up there. Then you're going to do some writing, which looks like a cat has written it. And then when you come to do your next chapter, you go back there and you choose heading 1 again for chapter 1. Now, the other way that you can do that is right click, go to Styles, and there's your headings. Now, use the headings that have got the blue because they'll come up without any problem over here. Sometimes the ones that have got black titles don't come up so well. Don't know why. That's just the way it is. Okay, so we've got chapter 1, and you're going to do right. And when you come to do chapter 2, you're going to put in a page break. So for that, you go to the Insert menu up here, go down to Page Break, and that will mean that your next chapter will start at the top of a new page. It just makes it a lot easier to see what you're doing. So I'm going to just right click here, go to Styles, and choose heading 1 again for chapter 2. And here it is up here. So for so long as you use the styles that are there, which if you're not right clicking, we'll go back here. As long as you're using the styles that are set here, then your chapter headings, all your headings are going to appear up here. So say you're writing non-fiction and you want to have a subheading. So I'm going to type something and then something else. And we're going to have a heading. A subheading. Okay, so to turn this into a heading, we can select it. Oops, a subheading. And go to Styles. And this time we're going to click on heading 2. Okay, so that's your subheading, and look where it appears up here. So that makes it really easy to move around your document. And then we're going to write a little bit more. Get to the end of that, insert, page break, and we're going to do chapter 3. Now see, chapter 3 is not coming up here because you haven't made it a heading. So I'm going to go back to the home and do it this way again so you can see it that way. Chapter 3, and there it is. So the beauty of this is, say you've got a section in chapter 3 and you want to call it, let's say it's the description of George, and you're not sure if that's the right place to put it. So you could give it a heading. Let's give it a heading 3, shall we? There it is, way down there. Now you're going to type a few things. Yeah, George has got, all sorts of weird lumps all over his face. And my cat is typing again. Okay, now say you decide that you want the description of George up in chapter 1, over here now. You can just go like that, right? And there it is, except that it's gone behind the page break. So we'll just pop it back up there. Sometimes you just have to redo your page breaks. Okay, but there it is there. It's lost. I've managed to lose its heading. So if you lose your heading, you just, redo them. So that was to show you that you can drag things around here. So I usually don't necessarily label things chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3 when I'm starting writing. This might be called, instead of chapter 2, I might just call it the fight, for instance. Okay, and this section I might just call, let's say it's a wedding, interesting sort of thing. And this might be, I don't know where these things are going from. So you've got all of this down here. We're looking in the navigation panel again. So what that means is if you decide later that you actually want to start the novel with the wedding, you just move it all up there, right? And your wedding is now chapter 1. Okay, but I'm going to label them chapter 1 and so forth again, and put a little bit of writing in there too. And here, I hope you're watching here. This is inserting a page break again. There we go, page break. Okay. So I'm going to call that chapter 2, swimming lessons, and chapter 3 is the fight. Okay, so there it is all there. And you can put as many subheadings as you want, which helps you to know where things are and makes it easy for you to move them around. It also makes it really easy for an editor to see the structure of your book, because it all just comes up down the side in the navigation pane. Love the navigation pane. Okay, so remember, how do we find the navigation pane? We go to View and across here, and there it is, navigation pane. As long as that's got a click next to it, a tick, then it'll come up there. Okay, and your headings, you find those on the home page, home menu over here. Okay, so you've got headings 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can just choose them, and they'll come up here, heading 1, heading 2, and you can have a subheading of that, and they'll just all show up here in a really good way so that you can basically navigate your document really easily. So that's important. The next thing that's important is how you set up your font. So I'm going to go right back here to the wedding. Okay, so that automatically, when you type, is style 1. So if we go to the home and we have a look at styles, it's coming up there as normal. Okay, the other way we can get there is to right click, and there's styles there. Okay, there's normal. Now for fiction, your normal isn't going to be what it normally is when you just open up a document, and you're going to need to make some alterations, because if I just put a paragraph break, you can see how what comes up. There's no indent here at the beginning of the paragraph, so I'll just make a paragraph. And here's another paragraph. Right, I don't want you to wait around while I get my typing perfect. So what we have here is not the way you format fiction. Fiction has to have an indent at the beginning of each paragraph. Okay, so what we're going to have to do is alter our normal style. Now, don't freak out, it's not difficult. You go back to where your styles are. Okay, how did I do that? I right-clicked. That's what you get when you right-click. Go to Styles. Now, right-click on that and go to Modify. So here's your style settings for your normal style paragraph setting. So whatever this is set on is how your manuscript is going to appear all the way through. Now, one thing's for certain, all editors, agents and publishers want at least a 12 point. Okay, so Calibri is fine, or you can use Times New Roman, but you need at least 12 points. And if you have a look here, it's left justified. Now, left justified is good all the way through for the editing. The justified should only happen at the very end of your manuscript once the publisher is actually formatting it for publication. The left justified makes it easier for editors to not miss gaps and this kind of thing. But what we want to do is put an indent at the beginning of your paragraph. So we go down the bottom here to where it says format, click on that and go up to paragraph. You don't have to worry about all of this, okay? Just go to paragraph. Here you will see it says indentation, special. Click on that, first line. Okay, so you want a first line indent, and that's what automatically comes up, which is fine. Now, you also do not want a gap before and after, before or after your paragraphs for fiction. So if you have a look here, spacing, you've got 0 spacing gap before your paragraph, but you've got 8 afterwards. So you're going to need to take that back to 0. For line spacing, editors, publishers and agents all like 1.5 lines. And the reason for that is because it's easier on your eyes. Many of them like 2. It's even easier on your lines. I'm happy with 1.5. You need to choose anything other than single, just for the sake of your eyes. Okay, so then you just click OK and OK again. And now it's looking more like fiction. Now, just to be a little bit tricky, this first sentence of a paragraph in a new section doesn't have an indent. So that's how it would look. We'll just get rid of that. So your chapter would look like this. No indent there, and then the indent's there. Now, there's 2 ways you can do that. I'll just go back. Here. Don't worry too much about what I'm doing. Okay, so you can just backspace, and that will get rid of that indent. Okay, or alternatively, now if this is too confusing, just don't worry about that. But alternatively, you can create a new style. Create a style. And click modify. And you would just call it no indent. Okay. Everything else is the same, but you go down to format here, go up to paragraph there, where it says indentation, none. Okay. Click OK. OK. So now you've got 2 styles. All right, you've got this style, which if you right click there and go to styles, you see it's your no indent style. And if I click on normal, the indent disappears. Now, that's just the reason why it's good to do that, is it'll save you money later on when things get formatted. So I'm going to go back to no indent. And here, where you've got the indent, okay, if I right click there, it'll show up as being your normal, not your no indent. Okay. Now, why, you might wonder, shouldn't you just have, let's see, why, you might wonder, should you not just leave it as it is and do a tab space when you want an indent? Okay, that's not a good idea. The reason it's not a good idea is it's a bother when you come to formatting. what a formatter will have to do is go all the way through and get rid of your tabs, okay? As they stuff up the formatting for ebooks, okay, and even for paperbacks, makes it very difficult. So don't do that, okay? Go through these steps to get your formatting like this. Now, if you're writing non-fiction, you can leave it as it is. I'm just going to go over this again to make sure you've got it, okay? So you write something as it is when you set up the document, but then right-click, go to Styles, okay? Go to your normal indent, right-click on it, go to Modify, and make sure you've got a 12 points there, okay? Left justified, go to Format, Paragraph, make sure you've got a first line indent and nothing before or after in the spacing of the paragraph, and at least 1.5 lines spacing between your lines, okay? And then okay and okay. Then you've got it set up beautifully. It also makes it really easy for somebody who's formatting to change the font, or for you to change the font if you want. All you have to do, and this is coming up because I'm right-clicking, okay? I'm right-clicking, that comes up. Go to Styles, okay? Well, that's no indent, so we'll go to this one here. Oh, okay. When you right-click and there's a spelling mistake, it won't happen, okay? So you have to click on something that doesn't have a spelling mistake. So right-click there, go to Styles. There's your normal template. Right-click on it, go to Modify, choose a different font if you want. Now, I like Adobe Garamond Pro. And when you look down here, okay, you'll notice that some of these, like Calibri and Arial, they don't have these little bits along the top. You see how Adobe Garamond's got flat bits along the top, and Cambria's got flat bits along the top. Those ones are easier on your eyes, okay? I'm pretty sure Times New Roman has that as well, which is why it's a very popular one for writing such things as fiction, novels, books, whatever. So let's try Times New Roman because it's a very popular one and it's an easy one to read. So I just changed it there, okay? Click OK. And now, not only that style, but any other styles based on it, which is also this style, has changed, okay? Your normal style is your basic style. And when I created a second style called No Indent from this basic style, it means that if I change the basic style, the normal style, that changes as well, okay? Just in terms of the font. So just to show you the other way to do that, if you can't right click, you go Home, over here to Styles, right click on the normal style, modify it, and I'm going to go back and choose my favorite, which is Adobe Garamond Pro, and I like it in 13 points because it's not too small. And click OK. And it hasn't changed there, all right, so I was wrong, that one hasn't changed. Oh, well, the font's changed. Let's have a look. Right click. Yeah, the font's changed, right? But the size hasn't. Okay, so we're also going to go, okay, that's right clicking. Yes, that's the quickest way. We're also going to go to the no indent, right click, modify, and it's set at 13. Go, okay, and that should have changed, but it hasn't. So we're just going to go and there it is. Okay, sometimes you do a little bit of messing around. So that's your basic setup for how you want things to appear in the manuscript in terms of your font and your spacings, and getting it set up so that you can navigate over here. So you can navigate easily through the document. So that's how to do your basic setup for writing fiction. And if you want to write non-fiction It's the same. You definitely want to do the navigation. You definitely want to use the set styles for your navigation so that it comes up here. And it's even more important in nonfiction. But in nonfiction here, you don't have to have this indent, okay? But you might want to increase the gap between. So if I'm writing nonfiction, I would be writing using this here, right? And there's a second paragraph, okay? But I would want a bigger gap there. So I would go, and I'm going to go the other way this time, so you know there's two different ways to do it. So I would go into, it would be your normal style if you were just doing it straight from however you opened up the document. But you would go in, modify, and in this instance, you would go here and put more space afterwards, just so it's really easy to see. So it's really easy to see the gaps between the paragraphs, okay? But most of my clients are writing fiction, and so for fiction, you want these indents at the beginning of your paragraphs. So if you do that, it's going to make it a lot easier for you and a lot easier for me as your editor. So I hope that's really clear. If it's not, feel free to ask questions.